Hi, I'm Ursula Lumpkin. I'm your host for today. I'm here with Jillian Rucker, my co-host. And we're here with Miss Pamala McCoy,
Yes.
author of Bonafide Bits.
Yes, where inspiration and intellect collide with your finances.
All right. All right. So tell us a little bit about Bonafide Bits.
Well, Bonafide Bits, it's a quick, easy read, only 69 pages. It's broken down into 5 categories versus chapters. I refer to them as categories, which are the principles of my company, which is to educate, to empower, to evolve, to enlighten, and enrich. And the logic behind that is when you think about your finances, and biblically speaking, when your fist is balled up, you can't receive a blessing, everything. And so this is a sample of financial captivity, if you will. And as you apply the principles to educate, to empower, to evolve, to enlighten, and enrich, financial freedom is right in the palm of your hand. You just got to apply the principles. You got to put in the work.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's broken in those categories, and then each one has 3 components. It will give you an inspiration. It'll take that inspiration and give you a life application, and then also give you a financial application, because what we do at Bonafide Credit Consultants is financial capability education and personal money management, so helping people get their finances and their credit in order.
Awesome. What made you want to start doing this? What inspired you to start being basically a life coach for a lot of people?
Wow. Well, goes way back, as I was sharing with Ursula earlier. Growing up, my father used to always say, and now I open up every workshop or seminar using my father's quote, and that is that credit card should be used to buy time and not money. And of course, when I was younger, didn't really understand what it meant, you know, hey, whatever, Dad, you know, but he said it a lot. So, you know, there's some value in it. Like, it's important because he's saying it a lot. And so the irony is that I would grow up and do this for a living. But we used to also jokingly say about my dad that he was so tight with money he could squeeze a buffalo off a nickel. And so that was jokingly then, but really it was just that he had principles related to money. And he applied them, which allowed him to raise, you know, a wife and 4 kids. On a military salary. And we lived well. I mean, we had everything that we've needed and most of the things that we wanted, all because my dad knew how to manage money. Because the reality is, it's not really about how much you make, it's how much you keep. And how you keep it depends on the decisions that you're making with your money. And so he was very astute at doing that. I'll say I put my dad up against any CFO any day, anytime, because he can manage money and make things happen. So, you know, as I grew up, it just kind of became a way of life. And my last corporate job was Vice President of Collections, Recovery, and Fraud at a credit card bank. And so, of course, that's the back end of the business as we refer to it. But it also gave me an opportunity to educate people about how to not only deal with the circumstance they currently were in, but give them some principles and things to apply throughout. And people would always say, oh, you need to do that for them. People really need what, you know, and it just kind of, you know, came to be, evolved, if you will. It seemed like that stage in my life, everywhere I went, everywhere I turned, strangers, you know, you go visit a church or what have you, our pastor preached a whole sermon on walking in your purpose, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, God, I acquiesce, I get the message, you know, I'm gonna do this, and that's when Bonafide was birthed. And I don't know if we have time today to really go into the whole background on where Bonafide came from, but it's also my license plate. So I advertise everywhere I go. So you see me around town, toot your horn. But as we were trying to come up with a name for my company, you know, my last name is McCoy. And so me and my husband, you know, the real McCoy, all those spin-offs of that. Like, oh, it just didn't really, you know. And so we're just throwing around ideas. And my husband's personalized plate is Justified, J-U-S-T number 5D. And he was Justified a couple years before Bonafide came to be. And so then we were just kind of brainstorming on, you know, well, what do you want your company to mean or stand for? What's your stand apart? Because there's other people that do what you do. What will make you unique? And I said, well, you know, some of the people that do what I do, they're not really genuine in what they're doing. And it's all about the money. And not really caring about whether the people really get it or not. And I want to, and that's where the motto of my company comes from, because it is important that you get the tools that you need, you know, to apply to your life. And the other pillar that's important to me is generational transfer. And so what I say to people that participate in my workshops or seminars, or even in a one-on-one consultation, is that I don't care if you're 30, 40, 50 when you get it. I want you to get it.
Yes.
Because even if it's that late stage in life when you get it,
Yeah.
if you truly, truly get that,
You can
then you're
fix
going to teach your children and your
Right.
children's
Right.
children. So
Right.
generationally, your family then
Yes.
will be impacted by this knowledge.
Yes.
And that's the key of what it is that I do and what I want it to be, is that if you're older, it just means your time horizon to benefit from the knowledge is just shorter.
Right.
But what a legacy to
Yes.
pass down to your children and your grandchildren,
Right.
how to be good money managers, because that's foundational in everything we do.
Well, you know, and you picking up that, I wanted to ask you, what is it that we need to teach our children at a young age? Like, do you think taking kids to the bank, like when do you start teaching your children the value of money and the value of saving, and really also the value of credit, even though they're still too young, but
Absolutely.
you're also leading by example. So at what age do you start teaching your children, young people, you know, how to manage your money correctly?
Well, I think it's age specific based on you knowing your child.
Yes.
And so it's not like, oh, when they're 2, when they're 3, it's when you feel your child is ready and can receive it. And you teach them at their level.
Yes.
You know, my nephew, who's now a grown man and
Right.
then some, I remember when he was like 5, I bought him this bank, and it has a little debit card, so he put
Yes.
his money in there, and it would show how much money was
Yes,
in there, and he had to put his little debit card in,
Yes.
if you will, to get money out of his bank.
Yes.
And of course, he really didn't understand, but it's about that behavior
Yes.
and learning that concept at his own level, that
Yes.
I put money in the bank, the numbers go up.
Right.
When I take money out, the numbers go down, even though, you know, he's not mathematical
Right,
at that time
right.
necessarily, but it's that
The
behavior, that
behavior.
concept.
Yes.
You know, you can start with your kid when they're young, picking up your toys. If you put your toys in your toy box or whatever, you get a nickel a penny, because it's
So
really not about the
responsibility.
money.
It's about
It's
being-
about those life lessons.
Yes.
And so you put in the work, you get paid for the work.
Yes.
And then you need to save and not
Yes.
spend everything that you make. So
Yes.
you know, they could be 3 or 4 and learning that
The value.
concept when they go to the store. It's a Dollar Tree. It's not even a matter of what you're buying. Again, it's
Right.
about the principles. And you'll find, no matter the age of the kid, when they're spending your money, I want all
Yes,
of it.
but when it's their money?
When it's your money, maybe this one item will do.
Right.
You know,
No, really.
maybe I can just get this one thing.
Yes.
But if you're
Yes.
buying, I can get 10 things.
Yes.
Again, that's a teachable moment,
Yes.
and it's a concept of money, even though you're not saying, we're going to talk about money today.
Right.
This is you're not having that kind of
The
conversation,
that's
but the experience, the
Yes.
expression, the behavior, and leading by example.
Yes.
You know, kids are like sponges.
Yes.
And that old adage where they say, do as I say, not do as I do. Kids are watching, they're like sponges, and you can talk all day long. But when you do something, well, that
That's
must
what
be,
you
I know what you
did.
said,
But
but
that's what
that's what you did.
It's funny that you talk about depends on what age a child can receive. Because I remember when I was in elementary school, my mom set up me a bank account, and she taught me how to write checks. And I know a lot of grown people that still don't know how to write checks, and I knew how to write checks in elementary school because she taught me that. And it's funny that you say that, because it's like certain things she did,
And it sticks with you.
Right.
How about you were in elementary
Right.
and now you're grown, but like
Right.
you not only remember that moment, but you know the whole concept of writing checks, how to do it properly,
Right.
and all of that. So absolutely, at an early age, teaching them, taking them to the grocery store, and using those teachable moments when you say, this is a grocery list, and so we need a can of soup,
Yes.
Right.
and you're on the soup aisle. You know, which soup should we buy? And you're talking about, well, this one costs, 59 cents. This one costs 89 cents.
Yeah. Right.
You know, having those conversations. Well, which one should we get? Why should we
very
get this
true.
one? You know, you can talk about brand names, even
Yes.
at that young age. You know, if you're buying Campbell's soup versus Publix brand soup,
Yes.
the prices are different. Well, why
But
are
it's
they
in the
different?
name.
Well, then it's all in the label and the name.
Yes.
You can turn the product over and compare the
same.
ingredients, they're the same. So you're buying the package and the coloring and all of those kind of things.
And you're teaching them
and you're
more
teaching
about,
them that.
and you're teaching them more, not really more so just about money, but just overall everything in life, and having value on, being materialistic and not, just understanding how to manage what you have
Right.
and not trying to keep up with the crowd also.
Absolutely.
I also wanted to ask, where do you think we're going wrong when it comes to money? What are we doing wrong right now? Obviously, there are a lot of things, but if you can think in your mind, especially you really speak on, credit and a lot, where are we going wrong right now in our society with money?
I think we've kind of lost sight of some of the old principles, the foundational things.
Right.
Again, as I was sharing with Ursula earlier, I got my my first real job. Of course, I was doing a little babysitting
Right.
and all of that,
Right.
and so making a little money there.
Yes.
But my first real job was working at Hardee's, a
Yes.
restaurant, and I
Yes.
got the job when I was 15 and a half.
Yes.
So I wasn't even old enough to work, so I had to go down and get a work permit
Right.
to work or what have you. But at that time, my parents took me, we opened up my savings account.
Yes.
And I had a checking account, right? And so in our household, and it's different, again, it's family values, however this family
Yes.
defines their values. So I'm not here to talk about what people's values should be
right.
or what have you. But in our household, it was you pay your tithes, you pay yourself,
Yes.
you pay your bills,
Yes.
and if there's nothing else left, you sit at home and watch TV.
Yes.
You know, and it just rings in my head, because
Right.
that's how my parents manage money.
Right.
You know, and for us, our faith is important. So tithing is
Yes.
always number
Yes.
one, because
Yes.
that's what our belief system says.
Yes.
Paying yourself first, and people, what do you mean when you say pay yourself
people never
first?
do that.
That means investing in your future.
Yes. Right.
Again, setting that tone
Yes.
that you can't spend everything that you make.
Right.
And it's second in line as you see above your bills. Why? Because it needs to be that important.
Yes. Right.
Just like your housing.
Yes.
If you're in the right mindset,
Yes.
you're not going to take money from your housing, your rent, or what
Yes.
have you,
Yes.
to go get the latest iPhone
Yes.
or the latest
Right.
gadget or
Right.
concert or outfit or whatever, because my rent's got to be paid because I need a roof over
Exactly.
my head. It's that priority. You know?
Right.
So paying yourself needs to have that same impetus of importance.
Yes.
And so back in the day, it was a savings account. Well, savings accounts aren't paying anything
Right.
today. It's
Exactly.
like 0.00. You finish
Yes.
all the zeros, you put a number down there.
Right.
You know, almost not even worth taking it out of the mattress kind of
Yes.
thing. But investing.
Yes.
So some kind of investment product, and again, depending on what your priorities are, will dictate what that product looks like.
Yes. Right.
And that's the role of a financial advisor to kind of help you with that. So if you might need that money sooner rather than later,
Right.
then you need in a short-term kind of product
Right.
that you're making some interest.
Right.
But you don't want it necessarily in a CD that's 24 months. If you're thinking, well, I want to do this thing, buy a house, a car, something in the next 60,
Yes.
or
Yes.
what have you, but you got to save. You
Yes.
cannot spend everything you make. And so when you ask, what do I think as a whole, generally speaking, and everyone doesn't fit in that,
Right.
is spending over and above
Yes.
what you make, living beyond your means, living for today,
Right.
hoping and praying that tomorrow will take care of itself.
Right.
And again, your kids are observing, so you might be saying, "Oh, you need to save."
Right.
But
But if
then
you're
you
spending,
spend,
that's
and
what
they don't
they
ever see
see.
you save. They're like, "Well, that's a conflict,
Right.
and I don't really know."
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with having nice things,
Right.
But all things in perspective.
Yes.
And again, if you pay yourself first,
Yes.
you're top of the food chain.
Right.
That's your future, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Right.
And you think of it that way, and then you're working with what's left,
Right.
and
Now-
kind of going from there.
And I actually work, and I talked to you earlier, I actually work for a major bank, and I work as a mortgage processor. So I analyze credit for a living. So
Right.
having this discussion with you is wonderful, because it's one thing to look at a credit report, and it's very dear to me when there are students that are in school and they have so much student loan debt, and they try to do everything they're supposed to do. They don't rack up all this debt. They go to school. They're trying to live this dream. They're trying to purchase a home, and then they realize, I can't afford it. My debt to income ratio is too high. So in these types of situations, to prepare younger people to have these things going forward, if they have credit cards, and we were told 30% utilization, do not max out your credit cards. What kind of information can you give to younger people who obviously are going to want to attain these things when, or obtain these things when they're older? What information or guidance can you give to them for their current situation, whether they have credit cards or student loan debt? What should they prepare themselves for, or how should they manage their money so they can have these things?
Well, knowledge is power.
Yes.
Let me reverse that.
Yes.
People say knowledge is power. It's not knowledge is power. Applied knowledge
Yes,
is
is
power.
power, yes.
And so, of course, my first recommendation would be to come to Bonafide Credit Consultants,
yes,
where we
yes,
provide, personal money management
Yes.
and financial capability education.
Yes.
And in those consults, of course, it's not a cookie cutter.
Yes.
So you can't just say everybody needs to do X, Y, Z, because there's so many factors that go into that.
Yes.
But as a general rule, you know, starting where you are, and the
Yes.
sooner you get this knowledge, that's that generational transfer that I'm
Yes,
talking about. So if
yes.
someone had told them when they're in high school, you know, you can't just live for this moment right now, you got to be thinking about the future. And so
Yes.
if you're planning to go to college, you want to own a home, you may
Right.
get married, you may have children.
Right.
So protecting your credit
Yes.
is important.
Yes, it is.
You know, and you need to guard it with your life. You need to build it and keep it strong.
Yes.
Even going into college and all of those things with that,
Yes.
then they know that and they prepare themselves and they make different decisions.
Yes.
For me, I had some student loans. I had scholarships though, because in
Yes.
our household, my parents'
weren't paying for
philosophy
school.
was, well, no, they would help, but my dad and my mom's philosophy was, you're the child, we're the parents.
Yes.
Your one job,
Yes.
is to do well in
Do
school.
good in
Yes.
school, yep.
Your best.
That's my kid's
Your
one
best.
job.
That's your job. And you
Yeah.
need to put everything that's in you into your job
Right.
and do your best.
Yes.
And stressing your best. And, you know, I have a whole conversation on that because
Yes.
when they say your best, it means just that because everybody's not an A student.
Right.
You know, and so you don't want to put that pressure
Right.
on your child.
But it's an effort. You
It's
want an
whatever
effort.
your best. If your best is a B student, then you need to bring me nothing lower than a B.
Yes.
You know, if you're an A student, then a B is not going to work.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But that's your one job. It's our job to house you, to clothe you, to feed
Yes.
you. But your job
Right.
is to do well
Right.
in school.
Right.
And so because of that, you know, I had scholarships,
Yes.
and that's free money. So you want scholarships
Yes.
and
We want
grants,
free
and you
money,
can get
grants
it.
and scholarships.
Free
Yes, we
money.
do. Yes.
But of course, my parents had 4 kids to put through college,
Yes.
and so there was still some shortfall. And
Right.
so I did have some student loans, but going into it, I knew up front these are student loans. And as soon as I graduated, that was my
Yes.
priority. Rather than furnishing my apartment, I got my very
Right.
first apartment because my first job was out of state.
Yes.
So I was there by myself. And my parents took me down. The first thing I bought was a bedroom set.
Yes.
And I bought it on 90 days, same as cash, not on a
Yes.
credit card.
Right.
90 days, same as cash.
Yes.
And that means that you have that 90-day period, but it's just like you're paying cash today. You're just going to
Yes.
pay it 90 days
You're
from
gonna
now.
pay it in that time
And
frame.
so that's all I had in my apartment was my bedroom set and all my college stuff. So, you know, the trunk was the coffee
Yes.
table, your
Yes.
crates were your
Yes.
put your lamp, you know, just like
Well,
you
they
were
tell you
living
to
in
kind of
college.
live poor.
Absolutely.
That's how you
Live
supposed to.
below
Yes.
your means is
Below.
ideal.
Yes.
And, you know, and my philosophy again, because I am my dad's child.
Yes.
My friends that come over, if this ain't working for you, leave the cash
Yes.
on the table. I'll purchase whatever it is you feel like I need to have.
Yes.
But as for me and my household, we don't do debt.
Yes. I
So it's going to
know.
take me a minute to
Yes.
furnish my apartment,
Yes.
but I'm going to do it in a reasonable and responsible way. I
Right.
didn't go into my first apartment, you got to have everything laid out. No.
Right.
And
Yeah.
some of my friends did that.
Yeah.
But that's just not what I chose to do. And why didn't I choose? Because I had that knowledge that says,
Right.
you know, that's really not the best financial way.
Right.
Yeah, you
Right.
might be flossing in front of your friends and all
Right.
that,
But
but
you-
financially, they're not pitching in to
No.
pay these bills. They just, oh, girl, your apartment is fly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they're going home.
Right.
You know,
Right,
and
right.
so it took me a while, but that's how I did it. And
You
so
have to
for
change
college
that
kids,
mindset.
you just have to have that mindset. What are
Right.
your priorities? So when I got out of school, my first priority was to pay off my student loans.
Yes.
I didn't want them hanging on for 50 million years
Yes.
or
Racking
whatever
up interest.
because I knew at some point I want to purchase a home.
Yes.
And I knew that that would be a problem.
Right.
And I didn't know exactly when. You know, at that time, I'm kind of, well, in the next 5 years, I might want to purchase a
Right.
home. But that was my priority. So I
Right.
paid my rent and I hammered down my student loans.
Yes.
You know, and so I had my student loans done
That's
within a couple
awesome.
years.
Yeah.
And so when I was ready to buy a house, you know, it became easy. And unfortunately, I had a circumstance that, again, even in something that is horrific,
Right.
some blessings can come from that.
Yes. Amen.
My
Yes.
freshman year in college, home on Christmas break, going back to college, and I got hit head on by a drunk driver.
Oh my goodness.
And so
Oh,
I ended
wow.
up out of school semester in the summer.
Right. Yes.
So I jokingly said I was on the 5-year plan, not my
Yes.
choice.
It's okay, but you made
but
it through.
But I
It's
made
all right.
it through.
Right.
And even in that, my parents' wisdom,
Yes.
the money that I got from that accident, my dad gave me a little bit off the top, just
Yes.
a little bit.
Yes.
But he and my mom put that money in an account, and his words to me were, live your life as though this money does not exist.
Yes.
And that's exactly
Yes.
what I did. The statements went to my parents' house. I didn't get the statements, no nothing. I knew it was there,
Right.
but I lived my life as though it didn't exist.
Yes.
The first time I tapped that money was for the down payment on my first home.
Awesome.
That I
Yes.
bought by myself.
Yes.
You know, and so, but again, it's that knowledge and having
Yes.
that wisdom plant it in your life,
Yes.
and you take it and you heed that lesson.
And that generational knowledge.
Generational knowledge. And
Yes.
so these little trips to the grocery store, when you take that few moments to say, compare these two prices, which
Right.
one is cheaper, you know, depending on their age. If they're, you know, first grade, they're just kind of learning numbers and not necessarily decimal
Right.
points, or which number is bigger, you know,
Right.
those kind of things. And just kind of getting them in that mindset of
Right.
thinking
Right.
value, money,
Yes.
cost, spending, working, responsibility, just those things. And again, at their level, as they get older.
Right. They'll
know.
utilize those.
Why is helping people with their finances and credit, why is that a passion for you? Because I know there are things that I was taught when I was a kid I'm not passionate about. It's just things that I was taught. So why is this a
Right.
passion for you?
You know, I just feel like, honestly, going back to it is my purpose. You know, it's my gift. It comes naturally to me when I'm doing it. It doesn't feel like work.
It shows.
It
is.
is.
It does.
For people to get it and that light bulb to go off.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I do what I do. You know, for someone who was a client and they come back and show you the keys to their first home
Yes.
or their car, and they say, you know, I never would have been able to do this without you. I'm so grateful for the lessons that you
Yes.
taught me, or what have you. That's why I do what I do, just for those little snippet moments of impacting someone's
Right.
life, you know, and knowing that it's foundational and it's not just for them. It's something that they're going to then pass on and pass on and pass on. And so soon we'll have a lot of people in our, again, because this is this circle. So it's your
Right.
family, but then it's your neighborhood, it's your community, it's
Right.
your city, it's your
Yes.
state, it's
Yes.
your,
It's
you know,
your
and it's
community.
just, it
Yes.
keeps spiraling out, you know, when the old saying, when you throw a pebble in the water, that trickle
That-
effect,
right.
you know, how it goes out exponentially. And so when one person gets that knowledge, and then they tell their friends and their children, and it just keeps on going and going.
Right.
And so at some point in time, everyone is going to be making wise financial decisions early on in their life. So they won't get into debt. They won't have bankruptcies.
Right.
They won't have all these things that people have to deal with. But life does happen. So even if that is your story, it's not the end of the world, you know.
So, and you know, with you working in collections, which I understand completely, it has to be a beautiful spirit of yours, because a lot of people in that industry sometimes is very cold-hearted, you know, but I can only imagine that you would hear so many stories. You probably would have people crying. It's something that you would have to retain every day. And this is actually leading to me asking you about your faith, because you have applied your faith to these principles. What made you apply? What is the importance of faith and these principles in Bonafide?
Well, again, I'm not one of those Bible thumpers
Right,
kind of
right.
thing, but my faith is very important and foundational in my life,
Yes.
and that's how I was reared, and so things that have happened, I don't even know how I would have gotten through
Right, yes.
without my faith.
I understand.
And so,
Yes.
you know, faith and finance go hand in hand.
Yes.
And scripturally speaking, there's over 2,000 scriptures
Yes.
in the Bible
Yes.
about money and finance,
Yes.
which says it's important.
Right.
You know, and it's not a dirty word, oh, we can't talk about money and
Right.
finances. You know, it's a discussion, and he wants us to do well.
Yes.
Or what he wants us to be good stewards
Yes.
of what we're given. And that's why I
Yes.
keep stressing it's not how much you make,
Right.
it's how much you keep. So managing what you have, whatever that amount is, manage it well.
Yes.
Manage it well.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think about investing in stocks and bonds and real estate? And is that something that you would put, when you say pay yourself, put your money into?
It could be. And again, it's not cookie cutter, because everyone's goals, financial goals and
Yes.
financial situation is different. But certainly investing in your future is important and high
Yes.
priority. You know, it's a funny analogy, but it's so true. It's kind of like, you know, we don't know the time nor the day
Yes.
of when it's going to come
It's
or
gonna
end.
come, yes.
But we're all anticipating
Yes.
being here tomorrow.
Right.
And so if you happen to be blessed to be here tomorrow, well, you're going to want to eat.
Yes.
You want to have clothes on your back. You want to
Yes.
have a place to stay
Right.
and all those things. So if you spent everything you had today, then what happens when you wake up tomorrow?
Right.
You know, and so we've got to kind of have that in mind, planning for tomorrow, and again, not spending
Right.
everything that you make.
Right.
And those vehicles that you're mentioning, stocks and bonds and mutual funds and real estate, all of those are viable vehicles to accomplish that end. but it's not the right thing for everybody. You know, maybe this person is stocks and bonds. If you're working with a reliable financial advisor, you know, the first thing they're going to do is have you do a financial analysis, and that's going to kind of give them some input, some insight into what your goals are and time horizons and how long you have to get where you say you want to be, and what does that end game look like, so they can back into what you have to be doing now to reach that goal. But also they're going to be evaluating really what your feeling and thoughts are on money. And everybody is different. And based on that time horizon, you know, the return on real estate, you know, that's driven by what's going on in the market. And so at this period of time, oh, it's great. This period of time, not so much. You know, and so if you have all of your eggs in one basket, that's why they tell you to diversify. You know, because if one goes awry, the whole baby doesn't go out with the bathwater, so to speak, or what have you. But again, what your portfolio looks like is a very individual thing based on what your goals are and what your time horizon is.
So, Ms. McCoy, if someone comes to you and says, look, I only make $30,000 a year, I don't have enough money to invest in anything, can you still invest in stocks and bonds, or maybe even retirement at a young age? Can that not be an excuse for someone to use?
There's never room for excuses or tools. You build monuments around nothingness. So dispel all the excuses. Nothing to it but to do it. You know, work with what you have. You know, but like in anything, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So it's going to require some sacrifice. And how bad do you want it?
And some discipline.
You know, and if I want this bad enough, then you make sacrifices. And when it gets tight and you really want to go, that's when that mental game steps in. You know, if you want to go to college and you know your family can't afford to pay for it, you need to buckle down in school to get that free ride. And if you want it bad enough, if it means getting tutors, if it means staying after school, whatever it means, you're willing to do that because that's that important to you. And so if home ownership is that important to you, then you know, depending on the loan that you get, maybe you need 10% down, 20% down. So how are you going to get that? Your money is still what it is. So the only way you can change the amount of money is make some changes in your, get a part-time job or what have you. As I tell my folks, when you do your spending plan, if you're at a negative cash flow, there's only two things that can fix a negative cash flow. You got to increase the income or decrease the expenses. Those are only two things that will move the number. And so what's the right thing to do? Well, that's an individual choice. What's the right thing to do? You know, so you look at your expenses. If you're eating out every night and blah, 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 cut that stuff out. Cut some of that stuff out or whatever. That's going to give you some disposable income to put in the coffer, as I say. And that coffer is for whatever it is that this goal is that you're working for. You know, if you want to increase your income, well, that might mean a part-time job. It might be getting a promotion on your current job. You know, if your spouse or significant other is not working, might mean that they need to get a job. You know, but if you have children, then you got to weigh all of that together because childcare is expensive. And so if you're just working to pay childcare, maybe that's not the right setup for that particular family. So again, everything can't be a cookie cutter because of those exceptions and things that are different.
So again, Bonafide Bits, Ms. Pamela McCoy.
Where can they find your book?
At my website, www.bonafidecc.com. That's B as in boy, O as in October, N as in Nancy, A as in apple, the number 5, D as in dog, C as in cat, C as in cat.com.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Now and also because we talked about this, they can do a video testimonial. Can you kind of explain that when they purchase the book?
Yes, there'll be a little insert in the book asking for a favor. And it's asking for you to do a video testimonial. It can be quick 30 seconds or what have you, straight from your iPhone, nothing, no special backgrounds or anything. There's not even a format. I want to hear from them in their own words what they thought about the book.
Awesome.
So
that is awesome. Well, we thank you so much for your time. You know, this is really needed in our society now with everything going on, tax reform, everything that's going on. People are going to have to buckle down financially to get the things that they want and to be educated. So we thank you so much for dishing out this educational tool for people to use. Bonafide Bits, Ms. Pamela McCoy, please support. And education is the key, most definitely.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies.